No dia 6 de agosto de 1970, um prédio de escritório de 50 andares em Nova York queimou durante mais de 6 horas e não caiu. No dia 4 de maio de 1988, um prédio de 62 andares em Los Angeles e o fogo se espalhou por 4 andares e não caiu. No dia 24 de fevereiro de 1991, um arranha-céu de 38 andares na Filadélfia queimou durante mais de 19 horas e não caiu. No dia 17 de outubro de 2004, um arranha-céu de 56 andares na Venezuela, construído em 1976, queimou por mais de 17 horas. E adivinhe, não caiu. E então, em 11 de setembro de 2001, 2 arranha-céus novíssimos, completados em 1973, queimaram por 56 minutos e 17 minutos, respectivamente, queimando em 4 andares e depois caindo completamente até o chão. E pense, o governo federal quer que acreditemos que essas estruturas maciças foram destruídas por 35 mil litros de combustível de jato? Rapidamente desmascara isso. O voo 157 bateu na Torre Sul entre os andares 78 e 80 às 9h02 da manhã. E se enterrou no canto do sudeste. A maioria do combustível se queimou fora do prédio em uma enorme bola de fogo. E mesmo assim, essa torre caiu primeiro, mesmo com a Torre Norte tendo mais tempo de incêndio, queimando por meia hora a mais. Se o combustível dos jatos não derrubaram o World Trade Center, então o que o fez?
Were the Twin Towers brought down as a result of the airplanes that struck them and the fires that followed? Or were they brought down in a controlled demolition? Where would people get an idea like that?
Pancake theory, according to which the fires, while not melting the steel, heated it up sufficiently to cause the floors weakened by the airplane strikes to break loose from the steel columns. And this started a chain reaction.
So you would expect then from that theory, which is the official theory, to see a whole stack of floors piled up on top of each other and then a spindle of core columns standing too.
The core of each of the Twin Towers consisted of 47 massive steel columns. If the floors had broken loose from them, these columns would have still been sticking up into the air 1,000 feet.
The plane did not cut all those core columns.
Buildings to take the impact of the Boeing 707 hitting the building at any location.
The building probably could sustain multiple impacts of jetliners.
What can do that? What can move mass out of the way? Explosives.
Heard the noise associated with an implosion. Secondary explosion on Tower 2. Some sort of explosive device.
We're obviously having a bit of trouble right now maintaining our location because we just heard one more explosion.
There was another major explosion.
Do you know anything about those extra explosions we heard?
No, I do not.
Were they car bombs?
I have no idea, ma'am.
The street shook, and I heard like an explosion.
Do you know if it was an explosion or if it was a building collapse? To me, it sounded like an explosion. We heard a very loud blast, an explosion. They were taking photographs and securing this area just prior to that huge explosion that we all heard and felt.
Not clear now is why this explosion took place.
When there was some sort of collapse or explosion,
from street level, as though it had exploded up, a giant rolling ball of flame, and the firefighters screamed, "Run!"
An explosion. At that point, I got knocked out. I don't remember anything. Then I got up, and I looked out the window because the windows exploded, and the street below caved in. And at that point, there was like fireballs coming up.
An hour later than that, we had that big explosion from much, much lower. I don't know what on earth caused that.
15 minutes after they made their entry, we heard a boom. I don't know if that was the infrastructure that was going or another explosion.
Again, there has been a second explosion.
John, just seconds ago there was a huge explosion, and it appears right now the second World Trade Tower has just collapsed.
All of a sudden I heard rumbling and we all started running away from it. The glass blew out and threw me onto the sidewalk, and I couldn't see for 20 seconds.
It was like holy hell coming down them stairs. And then when we finally got to the bottom, they were coming out on the mezzanine level there. And another explosion came right from it, just everyone flying.
We stuck on the stairs for a while. We finally got down to the lobby. Then we get to the lobby, it was this big explosion.
So I was real lucky. I don't know what happened to the people behind me when that blast occurred.
And was actually on the 78th floor of the second tower, and was evacuating the tower, and experienced all these explosions and made his way back down.
We presume because of the initial explosion there may have been secondary explosions as well that were detonated in the building by these terrorists.
There was a secondary explosion, probably a device either planted before or on the aircraft that did not explode until an hour later.
I heard a second explosion and another rumble and more smoke.
Witnesses also reported that explosions had taken place in lower levels of both the North and South Tower.
Ladies that are with me were in the World Trade Center in the first building and escaped through the lobby, where they report they believe there was a bomb in the lobby.
Just get out of the tunnel in the blue.
The subway tunnel?
Yeah.
Yes, I was right there. I was down in the basement, came down, all of a sudden the elevator blew up, smoke. I dragged the guy out, his skin was hanging off, and I dragged him out, and I helped him out to the ambulance.
And when I got up to the concourse level, it was just like, you know, like gunfire, and then just 3 big explosions.
And even the turnstile was burnt and was sticking up, and they just told us to run.
I heard the first explosion, and the elevator blew up.
And as we were coming out, we passed the lobby. There was no lobby. So I believe the bomb hit the lobby first, and a couple of seconds, then the first plane hit.
By the main freight car of the building, in the corridor, that's when I got blown. I mean, the impact of the explosion threw me to the floor.
He lost 343 firefighters at the World Trade Center. Since they were the ones inside the towers before and as they collapsed, I'd say they've got a pretty good grasp on what happened. So what does the FDNY think?
I went around by the freight elevator and I could see it was just blown. It was just a giant ship. 30th floor. We hear another explosion. And at that time, we heard a huge explosion.
Firefighter Louis Caccioli told People Weekly, "I was taking firefighters up in the elevator to the 24th floor to get in position to evacuate workers. On the last trip up, a bomb went off. We think there were bombs set in the building." For more than a year, the Port Authority blocked the release of a tape of firefighters' transmissions from the World Trade Center on 9/11. In November 2002, the tape was finally released to the New York Times and other news outlets. Why did it take so long to get the tape released?
I got an eyewitness who said there was an explosion on floor 7-8. 7-8. We just had another explosion.
Warren Street because of the secondary explosion. We've got numerous people covered with dust from the secondary explosion.
And we got another explosion on the tower, 1013, 1013. Number 2 has had a major explosion and what appears to be a complete collapse surrounding the entire area. Who's involved in the secondary explosion at Tower 1K? I've got 5.
You heard a big explosion before the building fell?
I saw it as it was happening, and it sounded as if you had 100 of those little black cat firecrackers and you lit them all off at once. That's what it sounded like. It sounded like the finale of the 4th of July over the East.
One of the guys, he can tell you I'm okay, all right? Here, hold on. You want to call your mother or something?
You gotta get back from here.
I know that,
You gotta get back.
All right?
I know.
The 4-1 should have taken a couple of companies that they were leaving back to us that were stuck in the tunnel.
Of ammonium nitrate and caused local earthquakes between magnitude 1 and 2.
47 huge steel columns going up the core. They're interconnected. How do you get them to fail simultaneously so the core disappears? It looks like those core columns were cut.
The way we do this is by cutting the beam at an angle